Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's going on?
As a DC Comics podcast, we get together, we talk about the shows, the books we read this week. I'm on autopilot, what can I say? But yeah, coming up on this week's show, we have Batman 146, Birds of Prey issue 8, Shazam issue 10, Poison Ivy 21, Blue Beetle issue 8, and I got a Patreon book I'll be doing of American Vampire second cycle issue 6. So that's what's coming up on the show this week. So it's a later week. Especially for me, because Matt's got 2 books that I don't read. But, I'll take a light week occasionally, but it is what it is. There's one little bit of news, and obviously we'll do the list formerly known as the Comixology Top 10. But before we get to any of that, Matt, how was your week?
Oh, way too long. So it felt like it drug on till we get to the weekend. So yeah, I've been very busy the last couple weeks, so I just need, time to do nothing.
Yeah, I've had a very early sleeping pattern this week for whatever reason. I think it was the 2 movie theater trips last week that just kind of messed me up. But
drained you?
Yeah. Well, not drained me, but it's just I like going to early showtime, so I got up early and it kind of knocks my sleeping pattern into a place that's less normal for me. But this week was a little bit easier, although I did have to do a double premiere of Star Trek Discovery on the TV review channel, which I don't like that show very much, so it was a bit of a gauntlet.
Is it too whimsical for you? What's the deal?
Oh no, the opposite. It wants to be a stylish action show, so it's trying so hard to be cool and I wouldn't say it's trying to be edgy per se. There was definitely elements of that back in like season 1 where they dropped a random F-bomb for no reason. It just kind of felt like, why? Like there was no reason for that. Like I'd at least get it if it was an emotional moment, but it was like just such a nothing scene that someone just threw an F-bomb and I'm like, you remember this is Star Trek, right guys? This is Star Trek. Yeah, so but it's the last season. There's only 8 more episodes, then I never have to watch the stupid show ever again. So,
or you can just not watch it. I mean,
well, Matt, if this was like season 2, I'd agree with you. But through a series of events where I had someone else who wanted to talk to me about it for, and 2 different people at that, over seasons 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, I'm left in a position where if I stop now, I would have just stopped at the last season, and that just feels stupid.
I believe you've told me this is the cost fallacy, sunk cost. Because when I try to quit certain books, you're just like, oh, that's the sunk cost fallacy. You don't have to keep reading that book.
Well, yeah, but I'm not doing this. I'm not doing sunk cost fallacy out of watching it. I'm doing sunk cost fallacy in that it would be incomplete review series. Like, it would be really annoying for the audience who wants to see the reviews, who all of a sudden it just cuts off for the last season. So I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish the stupid show. It's going to be done, and I can move on with my life afterwards.
Oh man,
that'll be good. But yeah, so
please, viewers, get him to watch Supernatural because there's like 18 seasons. So once he starts, he's not going to be able to stop.
I've actually seen like 6 seasons of Supernatural. I'll have you know.
Okay.
And I did stop watching, so that kind of proves you wrong. So
yeah. Yeah, only took 6 seasons of a show you probably didn't enjoy.
I did enjoy it though.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. It just doesn't seem like a Pete thing. It seems a little bit too of that CWE type style that you're not quite a big fan of.
It was pretty solid once it hit season 2. It kind of found its footing, at least for a few years. It's better than a lot of other CW shows.
Yeah.
Was it CW when it started, or was it still WB when the show started?
It might have been still WB.
I think it might have been.
I just remember, it must have been WB, because I remember in my comics at the time, there being a lot of ads for Supernatural on the WB, so it must have been.
Because it started when I was still in high school, and it went on for so long that I was in my 30s by the time it finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that should tell you.
It
how
was
long
on for
it
so
went.
many years that it would have been legal to vote. You know what I mean? Like, there's like 18, 19 seasons.
No, I think it's like 15. I don't think it got quite to that size, but it was long. It was a long, and it
feels like it.
It was meant to originally end with season 5, so they got 10 extra seasons. Then
you know what? Good for him. Good for that showrunner. Who went on to do what else is he known for?
He's one of the co-showrunners on The Boys, I think.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's done some other stuff as well.
I say this every time The Boys gets brought up. I need to get caught up. I'm still on season 2.
Yes, you should. Season 4's coming this year, so you got all the incentive in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not long
there's
seasons.
Gen V. Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing, is I could probably gain through them. It's just, for whatever reason, when it's time for me to find something to watch, I never think to go to Prime, like, at all. It's weird. I'm not conditioned that way. I check all the other streamers first.
I did start casually rewatching Cheers this week.
Okay.
Because I got it last year on iTunes when it was on sale for it was like $25 for the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
But notably, it's a HD remaster, and I've not seen it in this remastered format yet. And I gotta say, it looks pretty good. Like,
nice.
if more classic shows want to get this treatment, I know there's other random shows like Lois and Clark's another one where randomly it just all of a sudden went HD on like the digital stores, and like whatever like process they've done to just kind of like convert some of these old shows and like remaster them, because I feel like I think I assumed it would stop happening when like big Blu-ray releases stopped being a thing, where it wasn't really worth their time and effort. Because I know Star Trek: The Next Generation got a great remaster, but they all talked about how much that cost, and it never really recouped what it did for it to, because they had to redo all the effects in HD. But for a lot of old shows that don't really have visual effects, or at the very least, okay, the visual effect shots will still look quite soft, but the rest of it can look great because it's just a direct scan from the original film or whatever. Yeah, it looks great. I've only watched a few episodes. I'll probably pick away at that for like 6 months because it's like 250 episodes. But
yeah, it's a pretty hefty task. I just remember when we went to Boston on the tour line of the bus tour that we did. It was like a hop on, hop off. That was the stop where more people got off, was the Cheers bar. So I thought that was pretty cool. We didn't go because we were pressed for time, and there was a line. So, but it was cool to see the sign nonetheless.
I mean, the inside's not actually where they made the show, so it's only the exterior that matters anyway, really.
Yeah, but apparently they have good food and whatnot because it's like a bar and grill, you know. So, but yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they probably have such a good turnover business-wise just because of the Cheers bar. Yeah. Even though, like, other than the sign outside, it doesn't really matter that it's the Cheers bar. But hey, tourists are going to come in and be like, "Hey, this is where everyone yells
the Cheers
Norm."
bar. Well, see, I don't know if you're like me. I do like to go to places where stuff was filmed, you know. So knowing like just the outside is the Cheers bar, that's enough for me.
Matt,
so
I don't live in the US. I've never been anywhere where something was filmed,
but like,
so I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know if that would, like, when you did come out to the States, I don't know if you would have been as excited to go like in LA where they shot Drive, you know, to that little Chinese restaurant or the Italian restaurant, you know.
I never went to the LA River and saw where Arnold was on the motorbike.
Yeah. So I do like to do that stuff. Like when we went up to Ojai, I went to all the spots that were in Easy A, and I tried to match them to film stills as best as I could. So, but yeah, I know I'm weird.
I mean, that's not uncommon for people to go where movies have filmed scenes. That's normal, especially the more iconic places like the Exorcist Steps or something like that.
I was going to say, I know I could have led with, because I just posted it on Twitter, of the Halloween hedge in Pasadena, or in South Pasadena. I feel like
there's probably 500 places that look the exact same, so it doesn't really matter all that much.
But it does for Halloween, because it was filmed so much in, right? It's for a town that's supposed to be in Illinois. It is very clearly Southern California, and it's part of the charm, you know. But yeah, going around those neighborhoods, and then at Lori's house, which just sold, so that I'm glad I got to talk with a lady that's lived there since the 80s, you know, before it became like this, you know, before the internet made her life a little bit more difficult. Very, very nice lady. And she would leave a pumpkin out so you could take a picture with it on the stoop, like Lori and all that stuff. But it's all that stuff's in that neighborhood. You know, the Myers house, the hedge, the hardware store, and then once you get to the Acts 2 and 3, those are in a completely different neighborhood. So those are next on my list, is to go to Lindsay and Tommy's houses and check those out.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's welcome to the show, everyone.
Yeah, here we go. We talk comics, believe it or not.
Yeah, we do. Sometimes there's a third person, there's a ginger who shows up and...
No, there's not.
I think he said he had a Saturday off soon, so we might see him in the next few weeks. I don't know what week it was.
Right. I've been waiting for him to come back so I could make of course the ginger ape was evil in Kong Godzilla.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love how you get the title wrong to put Kong's name first, when that's not the order.
Wrong. It's all vibes. Yeah, it felt right to say Kong Godzilla.
No, it sounds wrong to me. It sounds disrespectful, frankly. Godzilla proved himself the alpha on multiple occasions.
I appreciate the fact that Peter Jackson has he had his Kong movie, but look, Kong doesn't have a -1. All right, let me have this one. Let me just put it in front for once. All right.
Has a lot of negatives, but no -1.
Yes, sure. That's actually Kong. Lots of negatives, but not a nice one. That is a great tagline for Skull Island. And I say that with love because I love that movie more than almost anybody.
You love that movie on a healthy degree.
I think the only person that loves it more than me is people that have profited off of it because they worked on it. You know.
Oh dear. All right, let's look at the sales rankings as of right now in the Kindle store. This is what used to be the Comixology top 10, but now is just whatever because there's not a good title for it anymore. But yes, let's have a peek. Let's look at Tuesday first. Matt, do you have a guess?
I mean, it's a week where Batman dropped, and regardless of how I feel, people still buy it. So I'll guess Batman 146.
Yes, Batman. It was going to be Batman. Birds of Prey's number 2 and Shazam's number 3, which I do think should be the next two. So I'm glad they're next. 4 is Kneel Before Zod. 5 is the Sandman 19 remastered. I guess they're doing that. I don't even notice. So the fact that they're up to 19 and I've not noticed yet is interesting. 6 is Superman 78. 7 is Poison Ivy. 8 is Batman Brave and the Bold. That is the collection of the Tom King story specifically, I believe.
Oh, I didn't even realize that dropped this week.
Yeah. Obviously, it's only 4 parts, so it's a $10 digital collection. I assume that the physical is a bit more expensive, obviously, but number 9 is Blue Beetle issue 8, and then number 10 is Bad Dream, a Dreamer story, which is one of those young adult graphic novels. So yeah. So definitely a quieter week, as per usual. A few surprise. I mean, honestly, the Zod book being number 4 is a little surprising. I thought some of the other things might beat that, but yeah, nothing too much to talk about there.
If you're listening and you are reading that, hit me up on Twitter because I am trying to did it pick up? I'm not curious enough to go back and start with issue 2, but if you want to give me a summary and that would be nice. Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite lines ever in Supernatural, since we mentioned that earlier, was an evil kid named Todd who out of nowhere said "kneel before Todd," and I lost my shit because there was no build up to it. There was no Superman references before to get you prepared that there may be more. It was just out of nowhere. He said "kneel before Todd," and I lost my shit.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. Anyway,
so is he like a Damian Morningstar evil kid or like a Macaulay Culkin in The Good Son evil kid?
I cannot. Matt, this was a standalone villain in an episode from a show that I watched a decade ago. I don't remember.
I guess I will be Googling Kneel Before Todd. So
I just remember Kneel Before
context.
Todd. All right. Wednesday then. You got a guess for the Wednesday books?
Yeah, let me look at my cheat sheet. Doesn't look like there's any new X books with the banner on it. So I'll just guess X-Men 33.
That's correct. It's almost depressing how easy it is to predict. But X-Men 33 is number 1. Number 2 is Void Rivals. So hey, it's a non-Marvel book. That's nice.
Do you think that's Kirkman or is that?
Yeah, that's Kirkman. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Number 3 is Avengers. Number 4 is Rook Exodus, which is the Johns and Fabic book. So it's another non-Marvel book, which is fun. 5 is Immortal Thor. Then we have Redcoat is number 6, which is another
John's book.
Yeah, another
which
John's book.
Almost picked up, but me and my wife had a conversation about me having too many comics, and I felt bad, even though it's John. So I might wait for a trade. I might pick it up digitally. What she don't know, don't hurt her. But
I get the feeling that this is not the first time this conversation's happened.
Yes.
In fact, I would be willing to bet that it's probably like a twice a year thing, if not more.
Twice a month, maybe.
We'll just bring up all the Taylor Swift crap she's bought.
That's the problem, though. Is she buys it one time and then just runs it into the ground. So it's like albums. Like she can't buy multiples of the vinyls. I mean, theoretically she could. I'm not going to put that out there. Please, universe, don't let her find out about variant vinyl pressings.
I bet there is. I bet there's limited editions with just different covers. Yeah,
100% there is. But no, I do. I am running out of room, so it is a fair. Like I'm not. This is not me going, oh, wife won't let me buy comics. It's like, no, I need to get rid of a bunch of boxes before I start to even think about buying more singles, especially for something like Redcoat that I don't even know if it's good or not. I just saw Jeff Johns' name on there.
Yeah.
So
number 7 is Deadpool, which is an issue 1. Number 8 is Captain America. Number 9 is Doctor Strange, and number 10 is Vengeance of the Moon Knight. So that is the 10. So hey, we got like what 3 non-Marvel books. That's quite good for a Wednesday. Plus there's some other ones. I mean, there's another Jeff Johns book, Geiger issue 1 with Gary Frank, just a little bit further down.
So I remember that was his first big non-DC, non-Marvel thing from his imprint. So that's where everything kind of spun out from. So this must be like a continuation.
Yeah, so 3 Jeff Johns books at Image this week is really weird. At least it tells me that he's writing a lot of comics in his time now, because for a while it felt like he was doing TV shit. But here we are. Yeah, okay. There's a Alien book out this week with a very phallic-looking cover.
Yeah. Also calling it black, white, and red. Weird look with that cover.
Yeah. Well, black, white, and blood specifically.
Black, white, and blood. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Even worse.
It looks veiny. It's a chest burster that looks very veiny. So you can imagine the "it's a penis" meme in your head right now.
Did you know that the whole life cycle of the xenomorph is based off of a real creature? I found this out this week.
I don't know if I heard that. I might have done.
Yeah, there's some type of bug that's called a tarantula hawk, and it's like a wasp kind of thing. And it lays
neither a tarantula or a hawk.
No, and it lays its eggs in creatures, and they bust out through the chest, killing them. And yeah, apparently that was the inspiration for whoever wrote Alien.
Well, Alien Day's coming up later this month, 26th of April, 426, which, if you're looking at Mail Fuzz Movies or YouTube channel with the movie podcasts, you might expect another Alien movie review releasing on that day.
All right, so I just looked up, and it is a type of wasp. So
type of wasp. Yeah,
it's a type of wasp. So maybe it's worse that it flies. At least the face huggers don't fly yet. I haven't seen the new one. Fede Alvarez might really be a sicko and give him wings.
Well, I think the main comforting factor here is that it's a wasp, so it's tiny and could never do it to a human being or anything bigger than,
Yet. Give it time.
Such a pessimist, Matt.
Oh my God, they have them in New Mexico. That's way too close to me. I mean, that's 2 states over, but still too close.
Hey, it's deserty. Like that's close enough.
Yeah.
If you showed me the landscape of Nevada and the landscape of New Mexico, I'd be like, yeah, these look the same place.
Yeah. Actually, New Mexico's a lot prettier because there's a lot more mountains that run through the state. Ours are all along the California border. Nevada's a whole lot of nothing. That's that's why it has Great Basin National Park. But yeah, no, New Mexico actually. After watching Oppenheimer, I definitely wanted to go check out not that site exactly because I don't want to get irradiated, but up in the mountains, like where they lived, looks like a fun Fun trip.
Yeah. Universal Soldier set almost entirely in Nevada.
Oh, really? I never realized that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like chasing them through the desert and stuff. Because the whole big thing at the start is they're at the big dam. What's the dam?
Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam, yeah. That's where the opening set piece takes place, and then there's a lot of driving through desert for the rest of the movie.
You know what? I haven't seen Universal Soldier since I was really young. Should probably give that a rewatch, see if it's streaming anywhere.
Yeah, I've got it on Apple. Just because I buy stuff on Apple all the time and stuff's on sale. Because I'm sick and must collect and must have a library of movies that rivals any streaming service.
Yes. And you can start your own.
I'm almost at 500, I think.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Easily.
That's a pretty hefty library, like digital or not. Like if you had 500 Blu-rays sitting there, that's quite the collection.
I've actually got more than that Blu-ray wise.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, even by today's standards, that's a massive, huge collection.
The vast majority of them are bought for $5 or less. Like it's always when they're on sale. So, all right. News-wise, there is one thing in the news. It's more movie related than it is specifically to the comic books, but worth mentioning the Supergirl movie. Obviously, we got the news of the casting recently. Now we have a director who's not officially on board yet, but is getting close, apparently in talks. Craig Giuseppe? No, sorry.
Gillespie.
Gillespie, yes. He did I, Tonya, which might be kind of... I mean, he also did the Cruella movie, but I don't care about that because it looked like shit.
It actually wasn't. It was actually a pretty competent movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I'm not giving it a raving review, but it wasn't one of those ones that I sat there and watched being like, oh, when's this over? I
did like I, Tonya though. It is interesting. This guy's not done any superhero stuff, but interestingly, he has done kind of more complex female characters, so that might lend itself to Supergirl.
Yeah, that sounds like Woman of Tomorrow to me.
Yeah.
So
I remember when she Tonya hardened that giant on that planet.
If she could only. Just imagine her picking up a giant pipe. Well, actually, Tonya Harding didn't actually do it. She hired guys.
True.
Kara would have done it.
Well, yeah. So in that case, it's the teen girl she's protecting. She's the Tonya Harding. Kara's the idiot henchman.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if henchman was the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. We took it from it was why am I drawing a blank on that Western?
True Grit.
True Grit, thank you. We took it from True Grit to Tonya, or to I Heart Tonya. Jeez, I can't talk today.
Did you say I Heart Tonya?
Yes.
You weird, sick man with your weird fetish. I like a woman who violently hurts people to get ahead in life. That's what gets me going.
Look, dude, I love female wrestlers. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's a thing. Oh, wait till we talk about Barda this week.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of books, Batman 146 Legacy number 911. Oh, it's issue 911. Oh jeez, I didn't even realize that. Oh no. Chip Zdarsky.
This issue was my own personal 911. I'll tell you that much.
Oh jeez. Chip Zdarsky writing with Jorge Jimenez on the art. Yeah. So, where to begin? I guess. So we revealed last time that this guy from Bruce's past that also trained Joker with his mind stuff is the warden of Blackgate right now, whilst Robo Zur-En-Arr Batman is out arresting everyone very fascist-like. The first third of this issue is just narration from this guy, the therapist / warden. I think from now on I'm just going to call him the warden for shorter.
Yeah, because he gets the big bold in the bubble. Yeah. Call him the warden.
It's easy to remember. I can't remember his name. I don't care what his name was. So he's just warden, right? The first third of this book is him narrating, like, just kind of like the backstory and how this all panned out. And throughout this, he talks about Joker always wanting to try and draw out Zur-En-Arr, to draw out the true Batman, as it were. And we get flashbacks during this narration to when Joker was wearing like his detached face in New 52, and he basically found out about both Zur-En-Arrh and Failsafe, well, Failsafe specifically, from Alfred when he was under the influence of Joker toxin. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I think I like retconning this into the backstory, but all right, there's that. And then this idea that he learned from Alfred like a hypnosis word for Batman. This is a thing.
I'm trying to see where that came up.
Yeah, it comes up when he's explaining all this shit.
Yeah.
Because Batman goes into what was it? Arco Tenebrous.
That's right.
Yeah. And Bruce goes all, oh, my head. So it's almost like Joker's had this like switch that'll make Batman zone out so he can get away. And I'm like, you're really retconning in that he's had access to this for years. Like, I don't know. This run conceptually is just constantly doing things that I hate and I don't like for the character of Batman or the characters around him.
Yeah, I wasn't over here pining for ties to Death of the Family all the way up to, from R.I.P. to Death of the Family up to all of this stuff. And was it Alfred or was it the doctor that gave him that? It's like he had learned about the Zur-En-Arrh thing from Alfred.
No, the keyword wasn't Alfred. The keyword was the doctor.
Yeah. So.
But even that, I hate that.
Yeah.
Well, Batman was being trained before he was even Batman. This therapist implanted a hidden word in his psyche that would turn him off.
Yeah. We shouldn't be that surprised because I can't remember how you felt about that issue of the night, but it was one of the weaker ones. I remember. About all the mind thing because it was been Batman not feeling pain while he's Batman, and to me that is very kind of goes against the whole idea of Bruce becoming the symbol and all of that stuff. It's because he's putting himself on the line.
I don't remember the issue, if I'm honest. I just don't remember it. But there's a lot of this.
It's him sitting in the Zen poses. He's kind of just recapping it, Zdarsky, for everybody right here in case they didn't read that issue.
So it all builds up to like, no, he's the warden. Zur-En-Arrh's brought him in to be the one in charge of the prison. And Bruce, of course, is saying piss off, whatever. Like, I don't know.
And then it's an actual prison. It's not a prison in Bruce's mind. They're actually in Blackgate.
No, I didn't mean to suggest otherwise. Like, yeah.
No, but I was hoping this was going to be mostly in his head. You know what I mean? Because that's where we've gone with this story. So the fact that kill all these different versions of Bruce, of failsafe Batman / Zur-En-Arrh, instituting his own will at Blackgate on top of everything. It's a weird look.
I mean, that's the big thing of this story is that Zur-En-Arrh's being like fascist Batman to the point where all the other Bat characters, except Damian at first, although by the end of the issue, even Damian's starting to give him a bit of side eye, like, oh, maybe this has gone a bit too far. But he's going around and just like throwing people into Blackgate with no trial and just sort of holding them captive. Technically, they have trial dates for the future, but it's all very much playing the system to keep them out. Babs and Dick are talking to the Justice League about what's going on, about what to do. Is this really Bruce? Because they're still trying to deduce that. Is this really Bruce that's in the robot, or is it something else? And I've not quite sussed it out yet. I will say there's a bit of weird art on this page when they're talking to the Justice League that kind of stuck out to me. It was just Babs in the top panel. She looks like her body's like oddly bulky compared to her head, and it just stuck out because it's not really a Jorge Jimenez like regular thing.
No.
Like, it feels like, I don't know if he was trying to like do like a sort of sultry in the tight t-shirt thing, but it ended up just looking kind of weird.
It makes Barbara look far more curvy than she's ever looked.
Yeah, but even her arm for some reason to me just looks too bulky, like the one that's rested on the armrest.
Right, that's what I mean. He's drawing her like she's Barda or Wonder Woman, and then she's not, right? And it's not that Barbara's ever like small. But she's a regular size human girl or human lady, and here she looks like a big, like a brawny type. So it definitely caught my eye too. Yeah, but it's not like if it was Barda sitting there, I wouldn't think it looked. It would still have that weird problem where the head looks a little bit too small compared to the rest of the body, to me, I think. But again, I mean, unless he redraws it as
Barda, then I wouldn't know if that's true or not, I guess.
True.
But yeah, they're talking to the Justice League. They're trying to figure things out. Batman's still in a cell with the Joker. And Batman basically goes in. So I thought this was going to be the rest of the issue, because he did this whole page where he crosses his legs and he's like, look, Zur-En-Arrh was part of me, and he has all my memories. So if I look into my mind, maybe I can see his memories. And I thought that was going to be the rest of the issue, was him like going through these memories and learning something. Instead, the top of the next page, he's basically just like, oh, I remember creating these robots, and he gets up, and it's basically he now knows what the robots that are guarding the prison, because it's all filled with these like bat robots that are like the prison guards effectively. He now knows their weakness, and I thought it was going to be, it felt so easy. He sat down, there's 2 tinted panels of like working on a robot head with, you know, like in a POV shot, and then the very next page he's like, oh, I know everything now. I can go fight them.
Look, I'm not a robotics expert, but I think you need more than some line shears, a drill, a razor blade, and a glue gun to make robots, but that's just me.
I mean, to be fair, it's probably just off panel, whatever the rest of the stuff is.
Yeah, I know, but
it's a pretty narrow point of view. Anyway, yeah.
That said, I do want to give him his credit for the art here. The Batman sitting in that pose with all the shadows, and it's just black around him. There's no panels. I think that looks pretty cool. The way that the lighting's hitting it and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, Jimenez's art is generally still pretty good. It was just that one panel really stuck out to me. It's feeling a bit off, but everything else is still up to his usual standard, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Batman's trying to do a prison break. He's hoping for a distraction. This is when some of the bat bots are bringing in Punchline and try to put her to her cell. So she ends up being this distraction. Meanwhile, we see kind of an example, and I don't mind this part of the plot. The idea that the fascist, Zur-En-Arrh is bringing everyone in, even people who arguably shouldn't be brought in. We get an example here of Harley Quinn being arrested, and she's like, "What? I'm practically on the Justice League now." And he's like, "I don't care. You're Harley Quinn." And Damian seems relatively like okay with this. He's not speaking up anyway. Later on, he has some doubts, though, based on some of the things that are happening. But Punchline ends up flipping a switch that opens all the cells. Although, I did at least appreciate that Batman's narration points out that all of the superpowered villains are all on a different floor. So this is just all regular humans. So at least if we did get Batman beating the shit out of 70 people, at least it's all regular people.
Which we know he could do.
Yeah,
Batman loves that drama.
Right. It doesn't actually...
And is that Vandal Savage there, too?
I thought that as well when I saw that, but I'm going to assume not, just because I feel like they gave him a line of dialogue or something.
Me too, because I see there's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum in the foreground, and then it looks like Vandal Savage walking up to him, and then it made me remember, like, well, where did that story go? You feel like Zur-En-Arrh would try to bring him in, for stealing his house. Well, it wasn't really stolen, but you know what I mean. But nothing is ever really made of this being Vandal Savage or not.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Zur-En-Arrh take the house back?
Did he?
Didn't Savage get pissed that his property's been taken back or something?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the Vandal
This
Savage
is terrible for us. Like, we should remember, but I do my best to try to forget some of this stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't care. Is the simple answer. So the fight never actually really happens though, because a bunch of Batbots show up, and so Batman lets them deal with it. And then there's a human prison guard who's still working there, who holds a gun up to Batman, and Batman is like, "Oh, hey, you're still here. You're just doing your job. I get that." And the guy puts his gun down. And I thought, okay, this was a nice little moment. It's really basically there to show that, to pulling your heartstrings, because a few pages later, this guard is seemingly dead, at the hands of, who is it that's killed him? I'm trying to remember. It's towards the end of the issue.
I think maybe it was Vandal Savage, because Vandal Savage is there around the corner when Bruce is talking to that guard.
Oh, here it is. I thought it was the Warden, actually, because I think the Warden's on the phone in this scene. Because the next panel on the next page, or not the next panel, but on the next page, that's one of the things you see. It may not be though, because all you see next to the body is a couple of feet. So it could. It looks like it's like sort of smart trousers, whoever this character's wearing, and we see the warden on the next page, and he's clearly well dressed, which is why I thought it was him. But I don't know. Because my assumption is he was killed by the warden for daring to let Batman go. Like this was like a retaliation kind of thing.
I mean, maybe. I'm not sure. I took it that it was as I'm looking back at the pages. Vandal Savage is around the corner listening to him. And then when Batman goes, the next time we see them, we see that guard, he's on the ground in a pool of blood. And it looks like the trousers are a little bit frayed.
Honestly, yeah, you're probably right. I just never noticed Vandal Savage on that previous page.
Well, that's the only reason I remember that it stuck out is because he's in the center of that page and then we see him there again and then not again, you know?
I mean, Vandal Savage is mentioned in this issue, but it's never in any of the scenes that this guy with long hair, who probably is Vandal Savage, is. Like, he's never... Like, they never draw attention that that's him. So, yeah, fair enough, I guess. Meanwhile, Zero&R's got, like, an Amazo robot that he's working on, and this is the thing where Damien's sort of starting to give him the side eye, like, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe you are going a little bit too far with some of this stuff. But yeah, Nakano's pissed, Mayor Nakano, because the actual city isn't very happy that Batman's just taken over this prison and is throwing people in there with no justice method or system. Superman does go and talk to Zero&R. And he's like, okay, you at least have Bruce's memories because you remembered where we first met. And they actually drop an editor's note here for That World's Finest two-parter that we had a little while ago. And as this conversation's happen, and Zero&R's trying to justify what he's doing, ultimately the plan is to take all criminals down, and Clark's like, oh, but at what cost? Yada, yada, yada. As this is playing out, we silently see Bruce with some civilian clothes on, getting into a truck and leaving the city. He actually gets out of the city. What he's planning to do when he gets out of the city, I'm not entirely sure, but that's what the cliffhanger is. So, yeah. Also, Zero&R gets all, big shot with Superman says, oh, you'll try and stop me, but you'll fail. Because Batman always wins, which I'm sure you love that line.
The whole part of that thing, too, is we're supposed to doubt that Superman believes that Bruce is actually dead. You know what I mean? So the fact that you think that Clark would put it together pretty quick, for this. So when we get to there, I wasn't even focusing on the Batman always wins. Yeah.
I mean, the second half of the issue is nowhere near as bad as the first half. The second half, plot-wise, is fine in terms of, okay, Zero&R's putting villains that are not necessarily deserving of going into Blackgate. He's just throwing them in. The city's upset at this. Batman's family's upset at this, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, because clearly he's not acting like he normally would, right? He's clearly going above and beyond what he normally does. That stuff is fine. Superman and the Justice League also questioning it, also fine. It's just obviously the status quo here is all built around the idea that we have this Zero&R stuff going on, which I don't really like. The first half of the issue, though, all the stuff with the Warden explaining how all of this has been building up by retconning in these details into, before Bruce was Batman, to when Joker was doing stuff in Death of the Family, to the Penguin, faking his death, and all that stuff. That half of the issue, and at any time Batman is with Joker in that cell, I'm just annoyed. I'm just furious at, what conceptually we're doing here. So... That's what it is.
Yeah, not to parrot everything that you're saying, but I agree. Also, I hate when they constantly bring up Killing Joke. I know it's easy for the artist to want to draw because that is an iconic image of Joker in the hat and the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
it doesn't add to the story here for anything.
No, but to be fair, it's not just Killing Joke, though. It's a page where it's a smash of, 5 or 6 different Joker classic moments. You've also got him beating Jason Todd with a crowbar and a couple other things. It's not just the one. So at least I get what they're going for. Is just that here's all the prime big Joker moments that you would think of.
Yeah, no, and that's fair too. I don't know. I just feel like we don't need to be constantly be hit over the head with all of those here.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. You're saying it's like the pearls falling. We're sick of seeing Joker in the hat at the door. Yeah, I get it.
Yes, So, and what's that bottom one supposed to be with all the people smiling? Is that just a random Joker attack?
I'm nowhere near that page. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll give you my thoughts. Because it's right back at the start.
It's literally page 1.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, I assume that's just a random Joker attack.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, everything to do with the Warden, I just hate that. I hate the whole power of the mind with Batman type thing, because it comes down to the lazy argument of, well, if Batman has enough time to prepare. And it's just like, bro, that doesn't make it, there's no conflict in that story. You know what I mean? So if here both Joker and Batman have trained their brains to do whatever, that's not a lot of conflict.
I mean, that's not even the part that annoys me. I hate the idea that this is specifically stuff that was trained, but more than anything else, I hate this idea that this character has been retconned in via the previous miniseries, and now we're finding out that Batman had this psychic off switch that anyone could say at any point throughout his entire career as Batman. Like, just piss off. Like, no. Like, this is just annoying. I hate retconning stuff into characters' past. It's such a lazy, dramatic device that so many writers do, and it pisses me off constantly. And it's probably at its worst with major comic book characters, because they've been around for so goddamn long that the longer the characters have been around, and the longer it's been since we've moved on since their early days, the more annoyed I'm going to be when you say, hey, this all happened back in the early days, we just didn't know about it, kind of thing. The longer you're going and the more you do it, the bigger a sin that it becomes. And we're at the point with these characters now, with Batman especially, like when you're in certain stuff like Ghostmaker, you're in certain stuff like this therapist character and this kill switch, the psychic word, I'm just like, no, I don't like any of this. So, I mean, I'll give the run this. I always have something to say. I'm always mad at it.
Yeah.
There's always some passion, at least.
Yeah. Well, also, I'm always a big fan of the shirtless Batman with the cowl on, though. So we got that cool, tease of a fight scene with that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know who. Like, I know who the story is for, but it's not for me, I guess, because it's coming down to because Batman. And I don't trust Zdarsky into being able to land the story in a way that's going to feel like all this was worth it.
I don't think that's the problem, though. I think you could give me a pretty good story that kind of relies on because Batman. It'd still be very good for lots of different reasons. This has way more wrong with it. There's way more going on here that's not working. So
I need to know what your because Batman story would be, though. But we don't have to talk about it right now. But I want you to think about that, and I want to know how that would work.
Well, like, it's all about how you handle it. It's all about how you do it. Like, if you build up to a because Batman moment that feels justified, then I think it could be very fulfilling, right?
Sure, Jed.
Well, it depends what you're defining as because Batman, and I don't even know if this is boiling down to because Batman. I mean, that's what Zur-En-Arrh thinks. Zur-En-Arrh's the worst of them, so he thinks because Batman.
Yeah, but we're also, the whole point of the night was low key because Batman. But I felt like in that story, we got to see the trials and tribulations of Bruce Wayne, and so we have the human connection there. And like here, we're doing all the stuff with the brain stuff, all the stuff with the brain teacher. And it just, again, it just comes off. There's no, I don't know. It's like when you talk about magic and you like stories with magic in them if we understand what the rules are, right? Them just pulling in that keyword that flips Batman off, like you were bringing up.
Yeah.
That really wasn't established before.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that this is because Batman, though. I think you really dislike when it happens with Batman, so you've used this as a term to just explain when you don't like something happening in Batman. But I think this is something that all comic book characters can be guilty of. I think all
Mhm.
comic book stories have this problem occasionally, where they'll just have the character be able to do something, and it's frustrating. But I don't think that's problem specific to Batman.
No, but like again, if this was Superman and we get to these things, and you know, where Superman can just do things because Kryptonian physiology, I don't necessarily like that either. With Batman, it's a little bit different because it's become a lazy way out for writers. You know, again, it's the whole preparedness thing. Batman can do anything if he's prepared, and we get so many stories that in that way where it's like, how would have Bruce known certain things are coming? You know what I mean? Like,
well, what's the because Batman in this issue then?
So for me, it's here. It's like you said. It is the Zur-En-Arrh aspect of it. I just don't know how. I don't know how Zdarsky's going to stick the landing with how he has set up Zur-En-Arrh, right? And it's coming up as because Batman. That's why he's being able to do all these things. He's able to take over Blackgate, right? Despite everything else. It's like there's no whys. There's no like Batman was able to talk to the mayor and be like, hey, just let me do this. I have this new form. I'm not going to fight with the police anymore.
I feel like this isn't because Batman, though. I feel like this is just plot holes that you're talking about. This is just...
But why is it continuing the story then? Because it's like, oh, we just have to accept that.
Because Batman is when there's something that he shouldn't be able to get out of, but it's like, no, because he's Batman, he's figured out a plan for this. This isn't what that is. This all this Zur-En-Arrh stuff's just really convoluted stuff. It's not because Batman necessarily.
But that's not what that scene with Superman says, right? Because he goes, okay, so the Blackgate thing was always planned, right? You know, and
did he say that? I don't remember him saying that. But
yeah, he does. He tells him. Let me get to that page just so I'm not misquoting. Scanning.
Like all I'm really trying to say, Matt, is that sometimes I think you're simplifying it too much by saying it's because Batman thing.
And that's fair, but here in this issue, it came up because here I'm looking at that page now, where you know they're talking about. He's talking to Batman on the roof, and he goes, and the taking of Blackgate, was that always your plan as well? And Zur-En-Arrh goes, it is necessary. Can you hear it? The press conference is happening right now. And so, yeah, he low-key confirms, like, this was a plan of Batman's deep down in the dark recesses of somewhere, right?
Well, it's Zur-En-Arrh's plan. It's not Batman's conscious mind. I mean, at this point, you can't say Zur-En-Arrh, like, well, we've clearly just separated them as personalities by this point, right? And Zur-En-Arrh's had his own plans for years.
So if this gets rid of the because Batman stuff, because that's all the Zur-En-Arrh, then okay, I'm okay for it.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. Because Batman's just a bad bit of writing that will come up whenever a writer uses it. This is not going to solve or make anything worse. What you're describing right now is that you don't like the Zur-En-Arrh concept. I don't think this has anything to do with because Batman. I think what you're saying right now is that you just don't like the entire concept of Zur-En-Arrh.
No, because there are parts of Zur-En-Arrh that I do like. I like that again, failsafe. There's again, and that's what's so frustrating about Zdarsky's writing since he's taken over. There are pieces in here that I like. I hate the execution of them. You know, this goes back to we love the idea of Batman creating a Terminator, right? I don't like the idea of that Batman Terminator completely taking over Gotham. Right? And so, and this goes back to even in that first arc where Batman manages to survive falling from space. You know? And so that's has been with us this entire time Zdarsky's been writing. Is he falls back into these things. Into of it, and again,
I just don't think these are the same thing. I think him surviving from falling through space is very, very different to what you're talking about right now. The idea
because you set up that because Batman is him, you know, figuring out a way out because he's Batman, right? And that was brought up to showcase the stuff over to Zur-En-Arrh, correct?
I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?
Right. So the whole reason, if we take this all the way back to the beginning, right, and it goes from failsafe, and he does the whole fall from space and he survives. What was the overall point of that to show? Right, the fall from space, that the chain links that go.
Was there a point? I don't know if there was a point necessarily. Yeah. It was just meant to be a cool issue where you got to see him flying through the atmosphere.
Right, but I do think that became a piece in the Zernar story of it all, and I still think that it's not handled particularly well. If that's not what you're picking up on, and I am,
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's necessarily a well-told story.
I mean, I agree that it's not been handled, but I just don't think that these complaints about Zuranar having these plans and enacting them has anything to do with because Batman. I think that's just a conceptual problem with Zuranar and how it's been utilized by Zdarsky in this story. But the idea that Zuranar had plans to do all these big things, and, you know, obviously, yes, technically Zuranar's part of Batman, kinda, but it's also been treated as a separate entity, especially in this run the entire time. I don't think you can have anything that Zuranar's doing as an example of because Batman.
Okay, I'm over the conversation then, because it's just going to keep going in circles. Because I do feel that, because I feel like because Batman is the worst aspects of the character that I don't like, and that's why I don't like them. And I feel like that's what Zuranar is representing, right? And I just don't think like nothing in this story, like I don't know where the story is going to go that's going to remedy a lot of this. You know, with Bruce taking off at the end of the story, like what is he just going to make some big triumphant return? You know, like we've seen a million times before.
I mean, well, yeah, but you're moving on to a different, like that's a complaint about where it might be going though. That's got nothing to do with the debate we were just having. We're veering away from it, and I realize it was probably not a final solution to it, but that's not adding anything to it. Like maybe this is a difference in definition, but I think because Batman, when I bring that up, it's a very specific type of thing. It's usually something like, you know, Batman surviving something like falling through the atmosphere, like he's just ready for it somehow. He's able to do it, right? Now, if he knew he was going to be going to space in advance and he was in like some sort of like space suit or something, fair enough, whatever, right? You set up the pieces, right? It clearly defines that he could have prepared because he knows what's coming. Right. That was all just him improvising, and he's caught off. And don't get me wrong, he should be caught off guard sometimes, and seeing how he tries to MacGyver his way out of situations should be part of the fun. But when you make it so ridiculously like over the top and unrealistic, there's a disconnect. And then that's when it feels like it's just because Batman, because they just can. I think all this stuff with the plot and Zuranar and everything he's doing, I think it's bad writing. I think it's bad concepts. Yeah. But I just don't think it fills into that. So you don't think
Zuranar overtaking Blackgate is a because Batman?
No, I think it's just a bad plot.
Like, I don't see, because I don't need to see all the like, I don't need to see all of that stuff. However...
Well, Matt, look at it this way. In the context of this run, he's already taken over the city, so taking over a prison should be piss easy.
Yeah, but again, then why is the mayor so pissed about all of this stuff?
Because he's done it by force. He's not done it with, like, he's not made deals to do this. He's just done it by force with his robot army.
Yeah, see, and that's where
he's effectively taken the prison captive. He's all the prisoners are effectively his hostages.
And by all means, though, Batman is indeed doing this, and he's created robots from scratch, right, to take over the city and take over Blackgate. So that's been a plan somewhere, whether it's Zuranar or Bruce.
Well, yeah, this is just a general comic problem, though, of like how much stuff these characters have been doing in the background. Like,
right, but I'm still saying, this boils down to because Batman, and there's not.
I don't think it does, because I think this is equally something that I could see being badly written for any other character. Is this type of contrivance? I think this is just contrived writing. I don't think this is specifically under that label.
So comic writers out there, you give me a Flash version of this, please, so we can see if it's any different or not.
No, we had that, Matt. It was called Joshua Williamson's run. Look, we've had it.
Oh yeah.
Stop asking for more bad comics.
Oh my god, I just remember. See, again, this is where I forget things. I believe we coined the term because Flash during Williamson's run.
Well, that's that, and that actually adds to my point, is that it's not a specific Batman problem. It's something that just happens with all characters. I think you're just more sensitive to it with Batman, so you moan about it more.
I still maintain that this Zuranar stuff it boils down to me. You don't have to agree, and we can move on.
Okay.
That it boils down to me that it's the problem with because Batman.
Okay. Yes, I wouldn't put it under that label clearly, but
Yes.
we could. I guess we're ready to rate the book. I would. Hell, if nothing else, at least that debate was an interesting conversation because I don't think
it was,
rest of
and
it
we
was.
don't hate each other. You know, it didn't get heated. I'm not Connor. Come on now. Come on.
Dear. All right.
I'll give this, like, wonky art aside. I think the art is the highlight. So that enough pushes it to a 5.
That makes sense. I think I kind of more or less agree with that. 5 out of 10 sounds right. But yeah, definitely not enjoying it. But at least there's something to talk about.
True.
I'll give it that much.
See, I got so into that conversation, I didn't even look at the covers like I usually do when we're talking. So, you know.
Good. It's on fire. All right. Birds of Prey issue 8, Legacy number 206. Kelly Thompson writing with Javier, Pina, and David Lopez on the art. So this is the end of like a 2-parter effectively, although by the end of it, it wasn't as separate as a 2-parter as I thought it was.
No.
Like last issue, I thought, oh, this is a little mini heist thing that'll not tie in that much, and then the cliffhanger hit, and I'm like, oh no, this has actually got big ramifications for where we're going
next. Not like a background cliffhanger. It is definitely the next story.
Yeah, it's a major cliffhanger in this narrative that's ongoing. Yes. But anyway, we left off last issue with the birds infiltrating this. Well, let's say infiltrating. Obviously, Vixen has access to it.
Yeah, it's an art show. Yeah. Not an art show.
A fashion show.
A fashion show.
Yeah. So I don't remember them walking out with paintings and sculptures around them. No. So they're doing this. I actually love the banter at the start where Dinah's talking to Babs over the comms and is like, hey, did you know what this plan was? And that's why you conveniently made sure you weren't a part of it and you're like over in the hotel doing all the computer stuff. And she's basically like, yep. So, cut to the fashion show. We got a nice big 2-page layout. There's a lot of 2-page spreads in this issue, actually. But they're all on the stage, and yeah, it is what it is. We even have Sin in the crowd talking to this detective that's there, who seems like he's going to be a recurring character. Yeah,
and I love her not knowing what to give her name as, right? So she just has a bunch of the S's, and he goes, what are you, a snake? Like, I thought that was a funny little...
Yeah, well, she's basically realizing, oh, maybe I shouldn't give my real name, but I don't have, like, a hero name. So she eventually just says, call me the caterer, and it's in this big, bold font. And he's like, that's terrible. And then it's not right away, it's like a couple of pages later, but, like, the demon in her head is like, yeah, we're not calling ourselves that. And she's like, calm down, it was just a joke. And then she also says, hey, let's have some of this champagne. She's like, no, I'm like 16. I'm not having champagne. And she's like, child, I've been alive since before time began. I can have some champagne.
Yeah. I love how the art handles this too, because they have her in profile, but, they do the whole line of action thing in filmmaking. So when she's facing left, it's Megara and her face is green and she has like tendrils. But when she's facing right, it's Sin. And even the backgrounds are different colors, so it plays very cinematically for kind of a split personality thing.
Yeah, the birds notice there's a bunch of beefcake men who have entered the stage.
The amount of times beefcake is said in this started to annoy me, and then it rounded back around to being comical.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then obviously, what's her face? What's is it Meridian?
Meridian.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember like what our current name is. But she shows up as like, oh hey, there's something bad's coming. And it turns out all of the beefcakes are actually being mind controlled. So there's a big 2-page spread where Barda's holding like 2 beefcake men in either hand, which is really funny. And then the next page, biggest laugh of the issue, I think, by far, is that Barda has taken off her swimsuit and there's like a sort of censored like classic Barda face covering her ass. And the other's like, Barda, why have you not got any clothes? And she's like, I thought the clothes had mind control. And they're like, yeah, their clothes, not ours. And she's like,
my mistake.
Yeah. So for the rest of the issue, when she's fighting anyone, it's just, it does the Austin Powers thing where there'll be like a bad guy's hand or something like in front of the chest or the crotch or whatever.
It is handled very, very, very comically, and it never feels skeevy. Barda's kind of the perfect character for this to happen to.
Oh, she doesn't care. Yeah, she doesn't care about being naked.
Yeah, it's not even that not being, but it's been established that, in times of battle, she is the one that kind of quips things. So her ripping off the clothes to fight too, it just adds this extra layer of comedy. And the art here on that page with you talk about the classic Barda covering her butt, just the expressions on everybody, even down to Sin, who's in the foreground, like the art just nails it.
She's like, I think I'm maybe too young to see this. And then Canary goes, I think we're all too young to see this.
Yeah. God, this is the banter I love from Kelly Thompson. Everything that I've read from Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, the banter.
You know, this is what makes it sticks out as her book.
Yeah, the banter's on form. Babs has like a Superman moment where she's like, oh crap, like there's more villains showing up. Like whatever these monstery things that are controlling the beefcakes are, or whatever they are under their skin, looks dangerous. So Babs has like a shirt open, Batgirl, symbols underneath. Meanwhile, we get these gorgeous 2-page spreads of all the birds fighting these various monsters that came out of the Beefcake Men. And the whole time, Dinah's like, okay, someone tell Babs not to come over. Like, she can't come over. This still might be a trap. And we get a big, again, another 2-page spread where she lets out a canary cry. It's very pretty. It's a very simple color scheme that went with here.
So the color work here is fantastic because it's the blues and the oranges and how they complement. And then as it gets further away from the birds, it gets murkier and more like sketch lines. Yeah. For like the impact. And it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's all gorgeous. I think what I liked about this issue, obviously I like the banter and I like the vibes, but I think they did a lot of setup last issue for this, and I was like, okay, that was a fun enough issue, but am I going to enjoy what this mission actually is? And I think I did. Like, I think one of my favorite things about it is that it did sort of like build Sin up as a character a little bit. I think giving her own couple of scenes where she was talking to the detective, and then Megara in her head, I think that was like, okay, you're doing a really good job of focusing on her, because she's the character who needs the most attention in terms of making us care about her. She's not a brand new character. Sin has existed previously, obviously. Yeah. But compared to all the others, like, people are probably coming in fans of at least Babs and Dinah, probably Cass, to a lesser extent Barda. But, Tom King's, Mr. Miracle wasn't that long ago, so there's probably some relatively recent fans of her too. It makes sense to try and build up one of the newer or lesser known characters and make her feel like a fun part of the team. And I think those scenes really stood out to me as being like, okay, I'm just enjoying getting to know the characters in this new status quo, in this context. It's not fighting all the time. Obviously, the back half of the issue is a lot of fighting, but the last issue and the first half of this one were all character stuff for the most part. It wasn't like all just fighting. I mean, the one fight we did have last issue was like the laser tag thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like here too, you're talking about Sin. I do like the dynamic between her and Megara, and it only seems like so far, just in this one instance, like, is that just going on in her head? Is that what that's supposed to represent? Like, is she really, when Megara takes over, has like the Tinderly stuff going on? So it adds these character things that make her feel unique compared to the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think she is speaking in a different voice at the very least. I don't know if she's physically transforming. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. It's hard to say right now.
But for the sense of us, for the reader, this is the art and writing make it clear that they're two separate people occupying the same space. So I do like that, and the way that they chose to show that was pretty funny.
So after the fight's done, Babs is there. I love that she does the big Superman moment where she gets ready into her outfit, but then she actually shows up after the fighting is done anyway. There's some jokes here where Barda just grabs a curtain and sort of wraps it around her as like a toga. But there's a bright light appears, and Babs gets sort of entranced by it and walks into it, and the light kidnaps her. It takes her. So there's a bit of emotion. Canary cries out, not the canary cry, just a normal cry, and the art here again is very pretty in this last couple of pages. I think there's a different artist here towards the end because there's two artists on this issue. Still pretty solid though. I think it helps that the coloring still there, that's consistent throughout. But basically, Dinah's like, okay, under no circumstances is anyone going to follow me in. But then that last page looks like the entire team is following her into the portal or wherever they're going. So yeah, this is obviously a big setup for the next story, because wherever they're going to be at the start of next issue is very important here. So very cool. I am looking forward to having the regular artist back. Don't get me wrong.
Leonardo Romero still. This is still pretty solid, though, I would say.
We said that last issue where this fill-in artist did, complement and sort of try to fit the style established, even though it can't be the exact same. Obviously, there is the problem a little bit where you can sort of tell there's a change in artist towards the end, maybe because the fill-in just couldn't quite get the issue done in time.
Yeah.
So we have a second fill-in to patch it up. But I had a lot of fun with this one. I like this more than the last issue even because it just had so much good, like, I think because it wasn't cutting around, because last issue there was a lot of like, okay, here's a scene here with two characters, we'll move somewhere else, have a scene with two characters, we'll move somewhere else. This was all the characters in one location, so even though it was jumping around the characters, they were all kind of connected to each other, they were all in the same scenario, so it all felt like it was all feeding into each other, and I really liked that vibe.
Yeah, well, and then too, once the action starts to get going, I was getting very confused by, like, are we supposed to know who these are? What type of aliens are there? Vixen says like they're an animal, and then after the fight, they're talking and they're they're asking Dinah what the hell all this was, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And she's like, yeah, it's like we're fighting about three things that we don't understand. So then it starts also getting to the time aspect of it too, with maps and the whole reason that maps is there and jumping around. So I thought that was a nice little writing touch to where it's like, you are supposed to be confused. There's a lot going on. It's pretty chaotic, and the creators here handle it very well. Yeah,
it's obviously that's a plot beat they're setting up for. Why is there so many different weird enemies kind of coming after us? Is it because of timey-wimey shenanigans? Is it something specific that causes that? It's definitely something they're building up to.
Yeah.
So no, good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I have not much more to add on this one. What are you giving the issue?
I'm gonna give this I'll give this a 9.
9, okay. I don't know if I'll quite go that high. I think I'm gonna go 8.5, but I mean I'm not far off. Really enjoyable time, and after reading that Batman issue, it was a wonderful breath of fresh air.
I saved this for last this week, and it was a nice dessert.
All right. Next up, we have Shazam, issue 10, Josie Campbell writing with Emanuela, Lupacchino, and Mike Norton on the art. So yeah, we've switched to the other creative team. And yeah, I mean, it's moving day. That's part 1 specifically of the story. And a lot of the early narration from Billy talks about how as foster kids, you're kind of used to and also get scared of moving day because it tends to be this thing that happens a lot when you're a foster kid where you have to leave the home that you thought might be permanent or move to a different orphanage or whatever. But this is the first time for all of these kids that it feels like an exciting thing because they're doing it as a family. And to even like add to that, the parents flat up say, hey, we're going to start the paperwork to like officially and permanently adopt all of you. Although I imagine they'll have to do that for Mary because Mary's already in college. But she feels like she's old enough to just be around if she wants to.
Yeah, she it's definitely her chosen family. So if she wants to be there, no one's going to tell her she can't. Unlike the other ones. Yeah,
the actual plot of this, well, before we get to the main plot, there's two things I want to point out. Is that they set up this neighbor character who's like a teenage girl who Billy clearly has the hots for. Freddie might too. Although Freddie might actually just really want to talk about his Juvan, which is the other minor plot point I wanted to mention here. The Shazvan. Which
I'm so glad Josie Campbell hasn't lost the Mark Waid silly touch.
I feel like the Z is so see if you just took out the Z, it would actually sound good to say Shavan.
Right.
You could say it, but having to say the Z makes it really hard to say.
Shazvan. Which definitely makes it a Freddy thing, right? Freddy doesn't think things through all the way.
There's even like the wizards like on the side of the van, like it painted on.
And I love how he's like, can you believe it was abandoned by the dealership?
And the look in everyone else's faces in the art is like, yeah, we can. We very much can believe that. Anyway, the main plot, once it gets going though, is that once they're going back into this rebuilt house that Zeus helped them rebuild, basically Zeus took it upon himself because we already had that thing where the closet in Billy's room was like a gateway to the Rock of Eternity. Zeus decided to like add more of those so that he had his own little pocket dimension where he could like hide from the other gods. So they open a door and it's like a hill leading to like a a columned like
to like the Parthenon.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like one of Zeus's temples.
I'm assuming it's not literally that one, but like just a sort of general Roman sort of building. And yeah, he basically just wants to chill out here. And there's a lot of sort of fun dialogue with the nymphs basically saying, we're the only ones who can stand being around him because he's such a shit
anymore. Yeah, well, it's Zeus's man cave, right?
Pretty much.
They mentioned this is that it was one of the places that he hid during Hera's, taking over of Olympus. So, just the fact that he's essentially in his garage tinkering with things, and now he has his own much bigger garage. I thought that was funny.
He's also let some of the other Shazam gods in this trick. So it seems like there's actually multiple gateway portals in the house, basically turning in the Billy Batson household into like just this weird psychotic maze of like hidden interdimensional doors that everyone's getting lost in.
Yeah, they talk about how they use the magic from the Rock Eternity to duct tape these dimensions together, and how that's kind of dangerous because we don't know, you're messing with time and space at that point. But I do love, who is it? Is it Eugene or the dad? Is it Victor? He goes, "Why is the bathroom a Roman temple?" And then Mercury's just looking over his shoulder like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, because Tawny opens a door and it's I think it's like Hercules is watching some wrestling. Yeah. So of course, very quickly this monster shows up to fight Zeus, and Zeus is like, "Wait a minute, what is this feeling in my arm?" And they're like, "That's pain. You're feeling pain, Zeus." So Mary and Billy Shazam up, and I think one of the interesting things about this really felt like Billy and Mary were co-leads of this book. Which is interesting because obviously she wrote the Mary book, and this feels like she's going to treat her as like a like I say, a co-lead. Yeah, it feels like they were kind of making decisions together. Mary even references the fact that all her gods that give her powers are different now. Yeah. So, yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, they fight this big purpley dragony, triple eye monster looking thing. So it's a whole to do.
Yeah, so basically what they do is they feed on these spaces in between worlds, and what's kind of icky is that I don't know if it's the same one coming from different portals or if there's multiple, but like one of them opens their mouth and it creates a portal to Darla and Eugene, and it jumps into the other one, and then through one of their doors it comes out. So it's doing some weird time, not even time, but space type stuff here. But you never get lost with the art. Like the artists here do a very good job at making it easy to follow.
Yeah, and the monster does have a little bit of dialogue, which is written differently than everything else. It's just this red text that's sort of like painted straight onto the art. So it feels very kind of almost like a cosmic horror Lovecraftian, like as a voice that we can't comprehend. It's just this omnipotent thing. So yeah, they're trying to fight this thing and get around the house. Meanwhile, Freddy's outside bragging about his van to the neighbor girl. So it's just a bit of fun more than anything else. And then ultimately, Freddy, when he notices things are going wrong, his attempt to try and help is to just ride his new van through the front of the house, which just got fixed, might we add. So yeah, it's a whole thing. So I do wonder like how much of this they're going to like keep around, this idea that there's just portals to all the various Shazam related like gods characters just in the building. Super interesting.
But yeah, at the end they talk about because it looks like somebody fixes the house, right? And it drops the Shazam van. Shaz van.
Probably Zeus, I imagine. Fixing some of his mistakes, no doubt.
Yeah. But it talks about that there's a magic leak, and that's what those snake creatures were kind of after. They kind of hide in the crevices and come out, and they can exploit. So I'm sure that's going to be going forward, like whatever is causing this magic leak within within this house. But there's another thing because Mary questions Billy on why he's referring to himself as the captain, like in the third person, and it's almost like the captain's its own personality. Yeah. Yeah. And she hints on that. And at the beginning of the story, Billy, like they all have mail, and Billy gets this letter and he doesn't get a chance to open it because of all the things that happen. and Darla's up at night. She's gonna go get a midnight snack with Hoppy, and the captain's burning Billy's letter in the fireplace.
Well, one detail you left out there is that when Billy gets the letter, he zones out for a minute. There's there's like a black and white panel, and then Mary's like, Billy, wake up, and he's like, oh yeah, There's a moment where it kind of affects him, whatever this letter is. So that's the other, like, that's the little tease at the end, is like, okay, what's this letter and why is the captain burning it? That is interesting. I think the fact that Mary's even like questioning this idea of like, wait a minute, you never spoke about him as a different character before.
Yeah.
It was never in the third person. It was always still you. So what's changing exactly? So I do wonder if all the recent shenanigans that Wade's already done with the gods messing with who's controlling him and how he's acting kind of thing. I wonder if that's still going to have some sort of a knock-on effect. I mean, the question is this like a personal letter? Is this like something from like one of his real parents or something like that? Or is it more related to something superheroic wise? I don't know. Yeah. I'd lean towards personal, but why the cap? I mean, maybe if it's his shitty dad, right? Maybe the captain's like, he doesn't need to see this because like that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's more the captain's taking this protective, right? Because he knows it's something that can hurt Billy, and it's going to be the message of, sometimes you have to do things, like, yes, it hurts, but that's how we persevere. I can see that being a message throughout Shazam. Yeah, I could see that. I also enjoyed the running joke that Hoppy's scared that Tawny's going to eat him. Even though it's been established that Tawny's a vegetarian tiger. But he doesn't trust him. And that's smart. Bunnies shouldn't trust tigers. Generally speaking, no. I think that's a fair bit of advice for any concerning bunnies out there. I mean, honestly, this was a fun issue. I think it felt really nice and focused because it was really dealing with the house stuff more than anything. But it did have a couple of plot threads that are kind of fun in the background, like the van with Freddy, like this letter stuff with Billy, establishing Mary kind of being here as the big sister character. All of that, I think, is really good stuff. It feels like it follows on nicely from Wade's run. It does feel like a different voice, don't get me wrong. You can tell it's a different writer, and that's okay. Luckily, I also like Josie's take on these characters, so that's okay. It wasn't too much of a bridge to Gap, right? No. Like, because we have been enjoying her in Amazon's Attack. We enjoyed the Mary Marvel mini, so it felt right at home. But yeah, I was kind of missing a little bit of that sheen that Wade brought on. I don't know if there was anything in this issue that made me laugh quite as much as some of the stuff that Wade had in a lot of his issues, but it was making me crack some smiles. It was making me chuckle. Like, the Freddy Van stuff was really funny. Freddy being completely oblivious to what's going on in the house because he's talking to a girl, right? But then it's not just he's talking to the girl, he's talking up the van. Yeah, that was the funny thing to me, is that clearly Billy was attracted to her. With Freddy, though, I think he just wanted to brag about his van. I don't think it's because he's actually trying to hit on her. Well, and then he says, too, it's like, not to brag, but my family knows superheroes. And it's that whole vibe that he has. I'm glad that each of the distinct personalities that we've had for at least a while with the Shazam kids have remained intact. Yeah. And so Freddy's Shaggy, the Captain Scooby-Doo, Mary is Velma. Darla's Daphne. That one feels weird, but that's right. I was gonna let you get there on your own. I don't know who Fred is. Either you, maybe Pedro and Eugene combined, or Freddy. I don't know. But they have these distinct personalities that I'm glad carry on, and I'm glad it still kind of has the same tone as Wade's. It's a little bit different, but it's the silliness still continues. I mean, now that we've shifted to a new writer, I am concerned that it's probably only going to last maybe another arc or two, just because I don't know how successful it'd be to have a long run, which is a shame, because I like this voice for the characters, and between these other books that she's written, it feels like she's been with Mary Marvel a while now, and it would be nice to sort of see what she actually does if she gets a chance to do a longer story with this family. So because while she's so far has only had the Mary Marvel, the Revenge of the Gods, and Amazon's Attack, that's a pretty lengthy run on that one character into Shazam. So I'd like to see what she does with other characters too. But I mean, I hope this lasts as long as it can. I suspect, though, it might only be another arc or two before it ends up being cancelled, sadly, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope it keeps going, but I'll enjoy it while we have it. And hopefully It sticks around for a bit. We haven't said much on the art, which is obviously, Lupacchino is a very good artist. But that's not the only artist we have here. We do have more than one artist on this book. How did you find that?
So I couldn't really tell. Like I like Lupacchino a lot. So I feel like Norton's art, I couldn't really tell where really one began and one ended. That said, that might not have a lot to do with the inking and whatnot, and the colors, because it felt a little bit different from what I'm used to with Lupacchino. Like the lines seemed a bit heavier, the color seemed a bit darker. So, that might just come down to the letter, or not the lettering, the coloring more than anything. But it was fine. It didn't nothing in here really knocked my socks off.
Yeah, I think it was pretty solid. I would say. I think I was saying earlier on that the facial reactions to one of the moments with Freddy made it funny. So the art was doing a good job of actually getting across ideas, which is nice. Maybe once all the portal stuff and the fights start happening, where that's all sort of doing really more complex stuff, it maybe starts to get a little bit jumbled, where it doesn't flow quite as well. But all of the general character on character drama and talking, all that stuff was handled really well. So
yes,
yeah. So yeah, very good. All right, what are you giving Shazam issue 10, Matt?
I'm gonna give this 7.5.
I'm happy to give it the 8. I think it's I think it's a good time. I'm happy it's still here. Hopefully it'll go for as long as it can. All right, Matt, you have Poison Ivy 21, G. Willow Wilson writing with Marcio Takara on the art. Take it away.
Yeah, so this is part 3 of Pam's origin, and now we get to the part where she really becomes Poison Ivy, and we get Woodrow injecting her with whatever chemical that brings about Ivy, and she goes into this like trance state where her heart stops, and Woodrow takes off out of the lab. So because the typical guy that he is, he can't take accountability for anything, and while she's in this trance state, she starts to see things in that psychedelic style that we've seen Takara do anytime she really becomes the full form of Ivy, when she was fighting the fungus zombies and all of that stuff. But it's Bella, the gardener, that comes and pulls her out. And when she kind of comes to, she talks about how she had seen something that she was bridging the gap from. She said, I'm hanging in the balance between two ways of being, one human and the other something far older. And you turn the page and it's Ivy as we kind of know her, but in this bigger, grander, almost Swamp Thing sense. So it still looks like Pam, but she's tall like a tree. And I think it's supposed to kind of represent Mother Nature, right? That this is her first time being in communication with the green. And it's showing her full potential. And unlike Swamp Thing, right, she's not being chosen by the council, right? This was a thing that had happened, but now she has this communication with the green, and it's left her changed. So she spends a couple days in the hospital. Bella's there with her, and they say that, it took a lot of tranquilizer stuff to keep her out and sedated, because her body just kept metabolizing everything. And so they say that the doctors tell her it's because her body had changed so much because of whatever happened. So one night when Bella's asleep, next to her in the hospital bed, she takes off because she feels like something is pulling her away. So she wanders off in the hospital gown into the forest, and you see her hitchhiking and riding on trains. And she ends up that the call is coming from Gotham. And so we get this really cool view of this neo art deco, right? So it's got all these tall buildings, but there's just blimps in the air. That's kind of like the opening of the animated series. And Pam explains here that, to her newborn eyes, it didn't look like a city. It looked like an open wound. And that Gotham's actually on one of the largest natural water springs, And so everything that's occurred by Metropolis, Gotham becoming this massive metropolis, it has ruined the Earth. So at this point, you see her like in kind of like a trench coat jacket, but the bottom of her feet, uh, she has tendrils and stuff coming out, like she's fully taking control of the Earth. And as she's standing there, this guy comes up behind her and asks if she's okay. So she turns and he gets all like blurry eyed and wonky, and the speech bubbles become red with hearts around him. And she realizes like her pheromones are having effects on people, whether she wants it to or not. And that's where she understood what she could do and how she could do it. And we get the birth of Poison Ivy, the eco-terrorist. And she's in the classic green uniform. Her red hair is flowing. The point in time it jumps to, she's right in the middle of one of her capers, and the police go to stop her. So she turns on the pheromones, and then Batman and Robin show up, and she's confused because in Pam's story she's the hero, right? Like she's trying to save Gotham as much as Batman is, and so she had said at this point she couldn't, she didn't really identify as Pamela anymore, because not just because that's not how she felt, but she didn't want to get any of her old friends in trouble. She didn't want to lead any ties to them. So she talks about, it would put Bella in danger, and Alec and Linda and even Philip. So she gave her name as Poison Ivy. Her and Batman engage into a fight. Batman goes to take her down. And she starts to use her plant powers against him. Robin is like shocked. And then she said she almost escaped that first night. And when she turns around, Gordon's there with some other police, and they're wearing like gas masks, and they end up taking her into Arkham. And this is where the art's been very colorful up to this point. It's, Takara doing typical comic book layouts. And then when he gets to Arkham, she's in a padded room, and it's just stark white. And the only color that's coming in is from the text boxes and her red hair. And she looks just completely torn and depressed. And she realized that she might have gotten herself into more than she was ready for. And then she said, but that was the first time I heard the voice, and I thought it was hallucinating. And this is where that I thought that it was going to be Harley, right? Because she hears a voice, but it's not like it's addressing her. It's just addressing like a situation about, you have to tell them what they want to hear. Make them feel big and important. And it just sounds like therapy advice. And so she does realize that the voice is talking to her. So she asks, who is she talking? Who are you? The voice is like, who first? Or you say first. And she gives her name as Poison Ivy, but my friends call me Pam. So as she's having this discussion with the wall, right, through the padded walls, a doctor comes in. And they take her into like a conference room, and she basically tells the shadowy person, her whole story about why she thinks that she's in Arkham, and they end up letting her out because she used that routine that the voice on the other side of the wall had told her. Build up, make yourself seem more vulnerable than you are, because some of these men want to be big. And she looks up as as they shut the door or the gates to Arkham on her, and she sees a shadowy bat figure. And it cuts to a few nights later. She's back in her Poison Ivy garb, but she's waiting, and she basically asked to talk to Batman, and they end up having this conversation where, you want to save Gotham, I want to save Gotham. And Batman's like, yeah, but you're doing it the wrong way. I can't work with you. And she essentially tries to seduce him. But it doesn't work because, Batman's always cognizant of like, if this is a trap. And he leaves, and Pam gets confused because like, wait, this didn't work. My powers of persuasion didn't work. I'm going to have to one-up this. And so as I'm reading this book and realizing that we're getting. This is not just the origin of Poison Ivy / Pamela Isley. It's kind of a reckoning of Pam's sexuality, right? Because for the longest time, right, she was, Poison Ivy. She was this woman that would use pheromones on men to get what she wanted, right? And then I'm not even sure where the turn came, but when her and Harley kind of became an item and they started leaning into their relationship, in this, it kind of shows that Pam kind of pulls her power from her bisexuality, right? And that's kind of who her character is. She's neither hero nor villain, right? She's neither human nor plant. She's this person that hasn't had to pick sides. She's almost been chosen to be this gateway. And I think that, Wilson using these last 3 issues to kind of show that Ivy's her own person, and that, yes, she can use the pheromones on men, but at the end of the day, it's to support what she wants to do. She's not going to play by man's rules, right? She's going to play by her own. And I really like that, because at the end here, Batman turns her down and she feels dejected. And that's where, because Batman's like, basically calls her a bad guy, and she's like, wait, I'm the bad guy? And then it's at this point that, this trip down memory lane and her origin comes up, and we get back to where we were at with the zombies attacking. And she's there with the girl from HR and Grundy and Croc, and she's back in her full, plant mode. And there's this big green, like, fungus monster standing on the side of her. And she's like, well, this is who I meant to be. And she tells him to get behind him, because she goes, life is ferocious. It'll try to save you long after you've given yourself up. It conspires against the animal part of your brain that would do anything to protect your friends. And across millennia, across geological ages of the earth, against odds that seem impossible, it endures. And that's where she says to get behind me. So it's almost like she's become not like an avatar for life like the White Lantern, but she is realizing her place in this. And that she's neither hero nor villain or anything. Is it? She stands up for what is right for the earth. And sometimes that makes her the bad guy. Sometimes that makes her the good guy. And that here, she's going to take up that aspect of life to take out these essentially the problems she created with the mushroom zombies. But yeah, this is a very strong issue. And again, I don't know if necessarily that reckoning of her identity is exactly what Wilson was getting at, but as a longtime Ivy fan, it's something that I picked up on, and like a light clicked, and it shows not exactly how important of a character she is, but it shows what somebody can do with Pam's type of past, and it's not done up for, like, oh, this is that issue where this happens. It's just her dealing with the character as is. So Takara's art's fantastic, because when we see her as Ivy for the first time, it definitely feels like the animated series designs. Everything's very not like blocky, but it has that Bruce Timm kind of heavy line work to it, and it's definitely reminiscing on that. And then just everything to do with Batman and Arkham, and the art really comes together. So I thoroughly enjoyed this issue, and I'm curious to see where we go now, like where, Pam's standing is after all this is done. So I'm going to give this a 9.
All right. Sounds like it was a fine issue for for Ivy Pepper, everyone's favorite character.
We don't talk about that version.
All right. Well, that also means Matt's not getting a rest, because Blue Beetle issue 8 is next with Josh Trujillo and Adrian Guitierrez on the art. So, how was this?
Yeah. So this focuses on Natita, who was the green Beetle that came up. So
I was going to ask when you said that. I was like, I don't know who that is, but
yes. So she was the green one, and her main kind of power set is she can, adjust her size, kind of like the Atom.
Oh, I know this. She pulls out like a dagger and plays like a flute, and then the Dragon Zord comes out of the water.
I wish. That would be cool. I'm here for more Power Rangers stuff, but yeah. So this issue focuses on her, and the covers talks about Natita no more, but she talks about how her name is Roma Jurado Lopez, and essentially gives her quick origin of that she was back in Bloodhaven, she was living, and then one of the Beatles from the I always forget their name, the alien group that had landed, the Horizon, had found her, and that she the her scarab is now named as Noldar, and it convinced her that the Blue Beetle is a threat to the Horizon and their way of life. But it was wrong. And so it talks about how she teamed up, and she's now friends with Jaime. And essentially this is her being like, I miss my old life. I don't want to be a hero anymore. And her going to the Horizon to try to essentially quit. And throughout this issue, we get Jaime, who also is not very comfortable with, how he killed the Blood Scarab, and he feels, like they don't have any agency. So he understands where Natita's coming from, but Jaime also understands that this is kind of their job. They're stuck with it, and, that's what we need to do. And so because the Horizon won't let Natita out of it, because, the Scarab found her as part of her now, what's her name? Roma, Natita, goes to Victoria Court and essentially gets the Beetle removed. And so the rest of the issue is fallout from that, because as Jaime and Zamara, who's Dynasties, the Gold Beetle, there's this villain from it says check out Blue Beetle 15. Named
I'm just saying,
Overthrow.
We've got at least 3 colors now. Like, we're almost at a Power Rangers team.
We are. Well, we had the red one too, and the red one was bad. So instead of the green one being bad, the Blood Scarab has been destroyed, but I feel like it's still out there somewhere. We are, Blue Beetle is prone to timey-wimey adventures.
I realised that Big Bad Beetleborgs would be a better reference to make, but I just don't think most of the audience will get it. So I'm making Power Rangers jokes instead.
No, but that there was a was there a yellow? There wasn't a yellow. Was there a gold Beetleborg? I don't remember.
Beetleborg? Oh, I don't think so. I think
remember
it was just
green, red, and blue were the main ones.
Yeah, it's just RGB for them, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a villain from Ted Kord's time named Overthrow, who looks like he uses like hard light type stuff. But basically he's gonna, go stop whatever Kord Industries is planning, because Victoria's on TV talking about their new stuff is gonna help change the world. And so as Zamara and Jaime are looking for Roma, they find her getting back on a train because she's gonna go from Palmyra City back to Bloodhaven. And this is where she sadly tells them that, they removed the Beetle, and she holds up her hand, and there's all a bunch of like stitching and scars on it. And so Zamara loses her mind and is like, you know what? We're heroes. I was pulled from my life in El Salvador, but I'm here, and you throw this all away, and you gave our one like thing that makes us special to the woman that imprisoned me. And this is where the art, Guitierrez's art really goes, because it to show like just how in the dark Roma is now. They're in the train station, and one half of the page is in the light and the other half is dark. And I almost think it's supposed to be like simulating like a train going by, like with the light. And every time Roma talks, she's in the dark. And every time Zamara's talking, it's in the light, until Zamara storms off, leaving Jaime there. And she apologizes, and he apologizes to her for not listening to her before. Because she was always, throughout the series talking about this is not the life she chose. So the Beatles end up going to Kord Industries, where we're also earlier in the issue, Jaime found his friend Brenda was working for Victoria, and he wasn't happy about it. So he's there to support her. And she unveils this new thing. It looks like an Iron Man suit crossed kind of like with a sentinel, called Pinnacle, and it's running off of the green scarab, and as she unveils it and she's talking about all the stuff that it can do, it's essentially the weapon of tomorrow gimmick. This overthrow guy comes in and she activates as he's heading towards Victoria. Jaime suits up and goes into Blue Beetle mode. Victoria yells to activate, and with one swoop, it catches overthrow and separates his arm. And it says objective complete, awaiting the next directive, and that's where it ends. So it says Pinnacle of Achievement Chapter 1. So this is the start of a new arc. Remains consistent. I'm really loving how Trujillo is really leaning into the whole legacy of the Beatles and what it means for them, while also, pushing Jaime's story forward. It's a fun little kind of sci-fi superhero book still, even though it kind of falls into some of the superhero tropes, that we're used to. So the art's pretty strong. Really enjoyed all of that. So I'll give this a 8.
All right, cool. Well, I've got a Patreon book to do before we wrap up. I'm going to be talking about American Vampire Second Cycle Issue 6. I completely forgot, by the way. I thought Second Cycle was the last of American Vampire for now, but there's actually 1976, which is like a 10-issue mini after this, so still got plenty to do. Second Cycle Issue 6, because 5 was the end of the first, well, I'll say the first trade. Technically it was Volume 7 it was the end of, so this is Volume 8 we're on now. But this delves into more Grey Trader stuff. If I have a complaint about the issue, is maybe that the second half of it is just one giant exposition monologue given by one character, Felicia Book in particular. Which is not to say that I dislike the issue. There's a lot of good stuff in it, and some of the stuff that we learn about in that long speech is really interesting. There's some solid world building and whatnot. So
what do they do with the art there? Are we seeing the different things she's talking about, or it's not just staying on her, right?
Yeah, it's showing some of the stuff she's talking about for sure. You are seeing some of it, but it is just there's a lot of narration boxes, for a lot of pages, and I think it really stuck out because American Vampire tends to be very good with its pacing, where you'll get a few pages that are heavy in dialogue or narration, but then you'll get pages where it's just action. The opening of this issue is really cool though, because the cover as well is a vampire, probably Skinner, in an astronaut's helmet, because we're in the 60s now, and the opening is a little boat, a little sort of life raft of 3 men waiting for the landing of a lunar module. Well, not lunar. Yeah. We're at the moon, yeah, but you know what I mean, a rocket module coming back down from space.
So they're the retrieval, right? Yeah. They're waiting for retrieval.
So it lands, the parachutes, it lands in the water and all that, and they open the capsule, but 2 vampires are inside instead. So,
oh no!
Which is the best page of the book, to be honest. They are here. These 2 vampires inside this capsule is just really good. It was a perfect start of the issue because it got me excited about, we're going to do stuff with space. And they do tease some other stuff with space by the end. But the main gist of the issue is that Skinner, Pearl, and Cal have made their way to this place in Florida, Melbourne, Florida. I had no idea Florida had a Melbourne, but I'll take their word for it. Why not New Melbourne, like every other place in the US that rips off a location from elsewhere?
I don't know. I mean, it's not the US, but in Canada, I went to Sydney, Nova Scotia, which is actually older than Sydney, Australia, but they're named after the same guy. So yeah, maybe it has ties to those 2. I don't know.
But Nova Scotia is New Scotland.
Right. Correct.
So, I don't know. Anyway, so they're at this sort of mansion. It's kind of one of the last places that the vassals have, and it was kind of off book, so it was kind of secretive, and they're here hoping to learn more about the Grey Trader. They do remind you that Skinner has that scratch or bite mark on his shoulder that he's feeling some pain from occasionally. But for the most part, they're just talking about, okay, is there a trap? Maybe we shouldn't just barge in. Skinner, being who he is, just kicks the gate open, goes to walk in, and we get this really cool panel actually of like the security for this place, which is like this sort of like demon made of like stone that sort of walks out of the wall. It's all like the wall that the fence is on or the gate's on. It sort of walks out the wall. It's a really creepy panel. It's a really cool visual. So there's a little bit of a fight scene here with them fighting these people. Skinner ends up impaling someone, but then they get hit with some darts and they wake up, sort of classic interrogation style, bright lights. It almost looks like the opening of Superman the movie, actually, with Zod and his cronies under the light, right? That kind of thing, where it's just darkness, but then the beam of light on them. But Felicia's here, and I don't think Felicia, Book, and Pearl have really shared any like scenes together before now, so this kind of felt like a big deal, having these like different like threads that we've been following kind of combine here for the first time. So our main characters are tied up, and this is where the rest of the book starts, which is Felicia. There's a little bit of debating with them about why they're here, and they eventually say, hey, we're here because this thing wrecked us, the Grey Trader, yada yada yada. And the art's good here because Albuquerque draws Felicia's eyes like wide and like, wait a minute, you saw the trader? You actually saw him? And she's like, yeah. And it's like, okay. They flip on the lights, and this place is like a secret base, and they've got like tables and like a war table and like a, you know, all the things you would have. And there's a little bit of backstory here about what this place is. It was this guy who owned a circus who built this secret bunker to practice new things for the circus because he was like paranoid about people seeing the acts and stealing ideas. And when he died, he gifted it to the vassals under the condition that they use whatever like magic resources they have to keep his favorite elephant alive. So I think the implication is the elephant's like, you know, vampire. Like they've made the vampire, the elephant a vampire. So this elephant's just here chilling with these demonic looking eyes.
Oh boy, fun.
But they get into all this, right? They talk a little bit about Book, about how Book knew about the Grey Trader and knew about all this. And what we learn is that the Grey Trader himself is not the big bad. The big bad is like almost like a cosmic horror level of like giant evil worm that is like the origin of the virus itself, the origin of all demons, the origin of all vampires and everything that spread from it. And long before like modern civilization, like 12,000 BC or something like that, I could probably find the exact numbers if I look, but it doesn't really matter. Like the Earth was like this awful toxic place where monsters were just killing things left and right, but eventually someone rose up and sort of taught everyone and inspired them to fight and fought this thing back. They developed a weapon called the Iskaku. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that, but this was a special weapon that could take on this great evil and sort of put it back underground and keep it sealed. And apparently every, you know, so often it tries to come back up. The last time being about 800 years ago, and it was in Russia, and they were able to fight it back. But this is an ongoing thing. But the big thing we found out about the Grey Trader is the Grey Trader was actually this guy named Huron, the one who taught everyone how to fight. When he went to kill this great evil back in the day, it seems he was turned, like somehow he was, I mean, not just obviously he was physically turned into a demon, but he was turned as and Grey Trader's actually morphed over the years.
Great Trader,
that's what it was originally, and now he's the Grey Trader. So it's like all this was interesting stuff. It is just a lot of like text. I mean, and
massive info dump.
And when I said you see some of this stuff as she's talking about it, you don't really see the events so much as you see like it interpreted in like a sort of like cave carving kind of thing, like it's carved in stone. So you get sort of like a hint of it without seeing too much. And I think that's because they're probably trying to like, oh, we're going to save what this big thing actually looks like for when we finally see it in the flesh.
Keep the suspense.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Like I totally get that from building a suspense thing. But yeah, the Grey Trader is basically, I mean, the line here in the book is, he is the true Judas, the worst villain in human history. Like that's what he is. He's the betrayer of all of humanity. And he basically buries stuff to try and raise the and you know, obviously that last issue I didn't like that much because it was mostly journal pages, but that issue was about like, you know, the bad guys were digging a big hole somewhere in the desert I think it was Nevada. They were going deeper and deeper, trying to get to something, but they weren't mining anything. So what was it for? Seems like it was something to do with this. And they actually get to talking about this, and this is where Snyder has to tie it into human history, right? So basically, the current belief is that this great evil is not under Russia anymore. It's actually underneath the desert in Nevada. And during the 50s, all of the missile tests were actually them trying to kill this great evil underground. They were trying to find it and kill it. And it was just, the story was these were nuclear tests. It's like, okay, you're sort of working in some of that stuff. And then they bring up that, no, but when Kennedy got assassinated and we got a new president, he didn't like the vassals. And now the vassals are no longer being funded or authorized by the government, right? That was a thing that was there. And that already came up in the issue, that the vassals for the last 5-10 years, whatever it's been. Actually, no, Kennedy was 64, so it's not been that long. But whatever. Yeah. The point being is that they're not funded or authorized anymore, so they're kind of a rogue operation. So they don't have the money to have nukes for a start, right? Never mind anything else. But apparently, the real Cold War is that whatever the equivalent of the vassals are in Russia that know about this, they know this thing's in Nevada. And if they get any hint that it's coming up, they're just going to nuke the shit out of the US to try and kill it. And that'll start the nuclear war, right? Yeah. It's got nothing to do with the communism versus capitalism. It's got nothing to do with the politics. It's just they know this thing is there. And
there's
a
monster that must be destroyed. Yeah. The United States, but we're in the United States. You cannot do that.
And they're like, hey, we'll retaliate. We can't let them do that. It's like, yeah, but they're willing to risk being annihilated as well if it means stopping this thing.
Do they get in why Johnson didn't like the vassals, or was just I don't believe in any of this? We're stopping the program.
The box here just says, after Kennedy, Johnson came in and declared war on us. He's no believer in monsters and paranoid to boot, so he cut us off. So that's all you get.
That checks out. I mean, Johnson was very much a big brash type Texan guy, so that would make sense. He's like, vampires, no such thing.
And the other thing here is they bring up Sputnik and say the entire Russian satellite thing is just to monitor if this monster's coming out of the ground in the US. Like, that's why they've developed these satellites in the first place, is just to monitor that. So it reframes the entire Cold War around this, which is very interesting.
Which I like, but again, I went to the Atomic Testing Museum, and France also tested stuff underground and all these other countries, right? But let's suspend disbelief, because I like the idea of a gigantic vampiric worm coming up under Nevada, which makes a lot of sense.
Sure. I don't know. All of this exposition was good, right? It was a little bit slow at first before once she actually starts getting to explain this great evil and the Grey Trader, and then into the Cold War stuff and the nukes. Once it got to that, all of it was really fascinating, and it was really Snyder doing what he does really well. It was the stuff before that where it was like, hey, we worked with Book. Yeah, we worked with Book too. Like the tension between them as they were sort of like learning to trust each other and talk to each other was just a little bit more tedious. But once it got to the juicy stuff, it really got entertaining and made me excited for where this is going. They also bring up here that some vassals have been compromised because the tongue is everywhere, they call it. And tongues actually, the tongue members, or which you could also refer to as witches or warlocks, as they're commonly known, when they drink the beast's teat, that's the line she uses. When they drink from the beast's teat, they develop abilities because they're drinking milk from the great evil and becoming, soldiers for Satan himself, basically.
That basically goes in line with his witches book, though, too. Yeah. So I kind of like that Snyder's keeping.
Felicia jumps in and says, well, you've seen Wizard of Oz, right, with the whole witch melting thing? Well, water's not actually the weakness of these types of people in real life. It's actually salt. They can't handle salt. So if you throw salt water at them, and we get a quick glimpse of what happens, the elephant throws some salt water over 3 background characters that turn out to actually be evil, and they're melting and stuff.
Yeah.
So... fun.
That also goes in with occult rituals, is that salt is this thing that can keep evil at bay.
Yeah, the circle of salt, I've seen that a bunch. Yeah, it was on Supernatural a lot. They used to do circles of salt in that show all the time.
Circles of salt, but yeah, just salt as a thing because it's this mineral from the earth and whatever. It has healing properties. That in most cultures, salt has this, almost legendary status. So
this comes up because they're saying, hey, so we've got a mission coming up, and we do actually need 3 more people. It's a 6-person job that will be split in 2 teams, and Pearl's like, but there's like 9 of us in total here. Why do you need us 3? And then she's like, oh yeah, these 3 are like turned here. They're evil. Burn them, kill them with fire. But the plan though sounds pretty crazy. 3 of them are going to Nevada in the desert, right, to try and find whatever, right? Find the monster, find the thing that was buried by the Grey Trader to raise the monster up, all that stuff. The other 3 though are going up, meaning space. So what the plan there? I think the plan might be to like take out the Russian satellites so they don't launch any nukes to sort of blind them. Right. That may be what the plan is. They didn't get into it too deeply, but it sounds like we're doing some space stuff. And the rest of this arc, I'm into it. I like it.
Nothing says 60s like space vampires.
Yeah, we get space vampires. I'm into it. Yeah, no, a good time. I'd like all of this. It was a bit of a dump, don't get me wrong. It was a lot of dialogue, which is why I'm probably only give it an 8 rather than anything higher. Yeah. But it's only because it is structured in such a big, like half an issue dump that it does feel like it does go on quite a while and it is quite wordy. But the information and what we learn is really interesting and exciting. So, and Albuquerque nails it. Like I said, like the character of Felicia looking surprised as soon as they mention the Grey Trader, really cool. All the stone carvings and things was an interesting way of conveying some of this information whilst also concealing what the actual things are going to look like when we get to them. All fun. Yeah, a good time. So 8 out of 10. I'm excited for the rest of this arc now. I think it set up a lot of really interesting stuff and felt like a nice jolt. I mean, the first arc of this was good, but that last issue I really didn't like because it was mostly those journal pages. So this was a nice bounce back of like, here's all the really cool, interesting lore that you enjoy about this, and how he ties it into real history is really cool. So very good.
Yeah. So real quick about Melbourne, Florida. It actually is named after Melbourne, Australia, because it was the guy that named it spent his youth in Melbourne, Australia. So it tells me that a lot like Florida, there's a history of convicts settling both. Australia and Florida have that thing in common. So yeah, fun. And also though, there's a lot of early human settlements. Like there's a lot of archaeological digs that where they found like mammoth bones and all this other stuff. So I wonder if Snyder knew that, and that's why he made it a vassal's base. For that in the story. But no, it's really cool. Yeah. So I need to probably pick this up so I can read it for myself, because we're in uncharted territory for American Vampire now for me.
Yeah, me too. Like I hadn't really. I think I might have read issue 1 a second cycle, like back in the day, and then just didn't keep up with it. So it is nice to get through it now and see where the story's going. So cool. All right. Well, that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and then we'll rank the top 5 or however many we read. So Matt, what was your panel/moment of the week?
All right. So there's a couple I want to spotlight.
Batman, obviously.
In Batman, though, I do like, again, shirtless Bruce wearing the cowl fighting people. Always a good look.
Sure.
In Shazam, the scene with Freddy talking about the Shaz van while all the chaos is going on behind him. That one's really good. Ivy talking about essentially, herself as a tree, as kind of the Mother Nature kind of spirit. That was a great moment. However, the one stands above all, and that's going to be Barda fighting, with the Barda on her butt. That laugh, it cracked me up so much.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that too much. I think I'll stay in Birds of Prey, but I'm probably going to go more with the. Yeah, I'm tempted to go with the sin stuff actually. The more. I mean, the stuff with the alcohol was funny, but I'm thinking more the I'm the caterer.
Okay, the caterer.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for it.
Good, yeah. So, cover of the week. I think the 3 I read all have. I think Shazam's got a variant here by Miguel Mercado, which is very pretty. Got a sort of sleek painted kind of look to it. It looks very Silver Age. It's sort of like it's got that sort of dawn light behind them. It's very good. There is a Batman variant by Gabriel Dell'Otto, which looks really nice and moody, really scratchy. It's got classic blue cape, all really nice.
Yeah.
I think my pick, though, is going to be the Mikel Janin variant for Birds of Prey, which has got the birds on motorbikes, and it's just a very pretty, colourful. It gets the vibe of the book really well, because you know, I think a lot of the books where it's like female characters, they always have at least one or two variants that feel kind of just like, you know, there's one of Dinah here where she's got that sort of like, I'm a 16-year-old anime girl kind of face. So it's always nice when you get some good covers for these books that aren't just kind of
those
pandering to, you know, the horny 12-year-olds basically. Well, I say that, let's be honest, it's horny 45-year-olds that are picking these up, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So some of the ones I was looking at, let's see, stuff that we talked about the Mercado one from Shazam. I think that one's really, really good. What if I told you there's a Bilquis Evely Poison Ivy variant?
I'd say that's probably what you're going to pick.
And then that's what I'm going to pick. Yeah, it's got her almost looking like a statue, like a bust. But so she looks very still and pensive, but there's, you know, green ivy work coming off of her. It looks fantastic. My shop didn't have one. I was willing to pay the extra. They didn't get one in because it was a 1 in 25 variant.
Oh, but you were just denied. Oh well. Then what's your best art of the week?
Okay, so for me it came down to Birds of Prey and Poison Ivy.
Sure.
I think this was Takara's best work so far on Ivy, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me it is Birds of Prey. I did like the art in Shazam quite a bit. Obviously, Jimenez is mostly great in Batman as well, regardless of how I feel about the writing in the book. But Birds of Prey takes it, I think, for me this week. So, cool. All right, rank your top 5, Matt.
All right, so I'll do number 1, Poison Ivy, 2, Birds of Prey, 3, Blue Beetle, 4, Shazam, and 5, Batman.
Okay. I will go number 1, Birds of Prey, number 2, Shazam, and then distant third is Batman. That's
50 feet of dirt.
Oh dear. So there you go. I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. So we have, and this auto defaults alphabetically now, which may be better for people at home. I don't know, but next week we have Action Comics 1064, The Batman First Night issue 2. I was expecting that to be every other month, so I'm surprised that's out already.
Me too.
We got Batman Dylan Dog issue 2, Batman and Robin issue 8, Batman Robin and Howard issue 2, Green Lantern issue 10, The Outsiders issue 6, Red Hood The Hill issue 3, Sinister Sons issue 3, Speed Force issue 6, Suicide Squad Dream Team issue 2, Brave and the Bold 54 Facsimile edition, and yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. So yeah, it's still a relatively quiet week. I do have 1 or 2 more books than I did this week. Looking forward mainly to Green Lantern, I would say. But yeah, and also the Batman issue 1 of that was pretty interesting.
Is this the issue that's a tie-in to Brainiac, the Green Lantern? I keep seeing it pop up on.
I think it
in ads.
Is yeah.
Let me see. Green Lantern 10. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm less excited now.
I didn't want to, pour on it, but
it depends how much of a tie-in it is, I suppose. But it is worth mentioning that's the big thing next week is that Action Comics is the start of the Brainiac crossover that's going between Action and Superman for
no more Bizarro.
I'm thankful of that, to be honest. I am thankful of that because that Bizarro story didn't do much for me either. So.
Yeah, so I don't know how this is supposed to be a tie-in because I'm reading. It says Hal Jordan returns to Oa. With Hal's ring newly recharged, he leaves Earth for Oa to uncover the mystery surrounding the central power batteries.
Maybe it's just a backup.
Yeah, well, no. Well, maybe. Oh, yeah, there it is. Because it's the Guy Gardner. Plus, Kevin McGuire joins Green Lantern architect Jeremy Adams to tell the tale of Guy Gardner, the United Planets, Lobo, and wrestling. It's Guy's Bogus Lobo Adventure.
I mean, honestly, if you just look at the cover, Matt, it says also featuring House of Brainiac tie-in story, Guy's Bogus Lobo Adventure.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, now I just realized we're probably getting Omega Bam Man.
Yeah.
Since it's
okay,
Adams.
I'm excited for Green Lantern again. Now it's just the backup.
Yes.
I can ignore the backup
Yes.
if I want to.
Yes.
So, excellent news.
But why would you want to?
Well, you know, it's a Brainiac, Joshua Williamson tie-in, and also it's Guy Gardner. That's the other reason. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna be so annoying next week.
As opposed to this week?
Hey, I was good this week.
Anyway, everyone, that's the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. You can support all the content by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us over there. Check out all the other stuff that I do over in MailFuzz Movies and MailFuzz TV, which is all movie podcasts and TV reviews and things like that. So go have a look. But that is us. More than anything, though, hit the like button, share us out on your I don't know, your comic book message boards or subreddits or social media platforms, wherever. Every little helps.
Those things.
But that is the show, so thank you very much for joining. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.